Hello, everyone. My name is Angela, middle initial K, last name Durden, and this is Punctuation is Power, Part 3, Slave to Rules, Write First, Worry Later. A panda walks into a bar. He eats, shoots, and leaves. Or does he eat, shoots, and leaves? Depends on where you put the commas, isn't it? A panda walks into a bar. He eats, comma, shoots, comma, and leaves. You see? Or a panda walks into a bar and he eats, shoots, and leaves. Shoots and leaves. No comma. None of that in there. Shoots and leaves of, what do you call that stuff? Bamboo. You see, punctuation is powerful. We added, he eats, shoots, and leaves. We added 2 commas in there and changed it to he eats, shoots, and leaves. To he eats, shoots, and leaves. You see? 2 commas. 2 completely changed that sentence from a science thing to a joke. So punctuation is powerful. Changing the meanings in punchlines, suggesting titles for fun books on punctuation, and in starting bar fights. Yes, starting a bar fight. I once started a bar fight when somebody asked me, well, actually, they asked me what I was reading. I said, I'm reading a book on punctuation. And I kid you not, it was a local community restaurant bar thing. So it's not like I was in a biker bar or anything like that. Although, my God, that story would be awesome if I was in a biker bar and started a fight over commas. The Oxford comma. Well, this is what happened. So I'm in the bar. I'm sitting at the bar. There's all these men around, and they're all talking and drinking beer and whatever else they were drinking. And I was going to have a little bit of dinner, and I was reading my book on punctuation. Somebody says, "What are you reading, Angela?" I said, "I'm reading a book on punctuation." And he said, "Well, what does it say about the Oxford comma? How do you feel about the Oxford comma?" I said, "I love the Oxford comma." This is this guy. This guy says, "The Oxford comma, I hate the Oxford comma." These two get into it right in front of me, and I'm just back and forth. It was awesome. Then these other people overheard them screaming, Oxford comma, pro Oxford comma, anti Oxford comma. And I'm in the thick of it. The bartender, he is still, man, he's serving more alcohol than you can imagine, faster and faster. This huge screaming fit went on for 3 hours, and the sole topic was the Oxford comma. And as people came in, they joined in, and some people left because they got mad. So you see, punctuation is powerful. It can even start a bar fight. Well, anyway, excuse me. Still, let's talk about punctuation. Some people say, well, I'm an editor and I use the Chicago Manual of Style for everything they do. Others say, well, I use the AP, the Associated Press Manual of Style, for everything they do. And then there's others that there's Strunk and White, they use a little bit of that. Um, Me, I am all over the place. And let me tell you why. The Chicago Manual of Style mostly was dealing with scientific medical writing, research writing. And they wanted a particular look to how the reports were presented, how the studies were, outcomes were presented, so that it would be easy for everyone to find the sections that they needed. And they had their particular style in this Chicago University for what they wanted. And there's a reason for that. I know somebody who's the editor for high-end, what do you call these things? Online newsletters for large industries around the world. They, this business has their own style manual. They use the AP as a basis, but because they are dealing with so many different types of industries and so many different languages that these things will be translated into, they must have their own style manual for each type of newsletter they're working on. And there's a reason. It keeps the readers, because the readers need to know what they're looking at, why they're looking at it. Is it beneficial for them? Is it not? Boom, very fast, very clear, and very accurate. And then you have other newspapers that have their own style. They have their own style manual. But you've got these people, these editors who think they know what's what. Well, I only use, and they're editing novels. I use the Chicago Manual of Style. I use the AP. Let me tell you something. Novels, when it comes to editing novels or even memoirs, even some business books, depending on the content, or history books, depending on the focus that you're putting on it. All the rules of editing go out the window. All of them. You have newspaper business that uses them, technical papers, scientific journals, legal writs. Oh yeah, you provide writs to judges and this sort of thing. You better have it in a certain form, or they're gonna throw it back at you. These style manuals keep everybody understanding what the marks mean and the weight they carry within that particular discipline. And when you're working with large teams producing massive content, style manuals take a lot of guesswork out of the writing for the researchers and the writers, and it allows the employees to do more in less time, and the editors, when they're coming through it, it lightens their workload also. So there's nothing wrong with a style manual unless it's misapplied. Think about a hose. You got a nozzle on the end. And this nozzle, you can turn the little thing and it'll go from a spray, a gentle spray, wee, to a hard biting thing that'll take the mold off of a sidewalk. The hose is not the problem. It's the application of the power as it's delivered. Same with punctuation. So when you write a novel, it's just as the characters will say and do things that you never expected them to say or do, your punctuation will also need to be flexible based on the plot, based on the voice. Punctuation can give your voice on the page a completely different cadence. It can slow the reader down. It can speed the reader up. So to have an editor force a hard and fast rules upon your novel when they don't understand what your goal is with these characters in this plot, they're doing you a disservice. So what you do is you look at everything they write down, and you think, how does this affect my character, my plot, my voice on the page? And you realize that these editors, the marks they're making are just merely suggestions. You have to decide if it serves your writing. And if it doesn't, then you go and do something else. So if you're writing trying to obey the rules of a certain style manual, then you have already put the handcuffs on. You've tied your hands together You've lashed those to your feet. Now you can't walk. And if you're like me, if you tie my hands down, I can't talk. So now your characters can't talk because you have locked it all up. Some people write books, they're called pantsers. They just start writing and they don't know anything. Some outline. So, and it depends on the book, depends on what has to happen and how your brain works. Neither one nor the other is right or wrong. They're just styles and methods. But either way, your sentences are going to change. The order in which your sentences in a paragraph or the order in which your paragraphs show up in the book are all going to change. All of it, which means your punctuation needs will change. Once you move a sentence from, say, the bottom of a paragraph to the top, now the flow of the information is changed. How are you going to have to change the punctuation in this sentence that was at the bottom and is now at the top, and the one that is now in the bottom position? You will find that you will have to change punctuation, and that's okay. Sentences, whole paragraphs, chapters sometimes have to be rewritten, inverted, moved, or totally scrapped. I once threw away a whole book I wrote, a whole book. The story was great. I just couldn't tell it. And I couldn't find a way to tell it. I worked on that thing and I worked on that thing and I did everything in my power. And I just couldn't tell that story. Look, if I bore myself, then it was time to throw it away. I deleted it off my computer. I had printed the whole thing out, had it in a notebook, all kinds of notes on it. I threw that all in the trash. I said, to hell with it. I'm not going to work on this anymore. Yet the story itself was absolutely wonderful. I just couldn't tell it. And I don't know why. But it doesn't matter. There's a certain freedom of spirit that goes with throwing away words you've written, even words that you've spent a lot of time on. It's an acknowledgement that you have more to learn. It's an acknowledgement that you have found this piece is no longer needed. That it's dragging the story down, man. Out it goes. When you get to that part where you can throw something away, now you're on the road to being a real writer. People's egos get stuck up in so many different things. But anyway, back to the punctuation thing. So when you originally wrote something and you had your punctuation in it, it meant one thing. But now that you've rewritten stuff, the punctuation is going to have to change. So if it doesn't, then it's quite possible you aren't going to be saying what you thought. And it's going to confuse the reader. So, a panda walks into a bar. Tell this to yourself. Read it to yourself. A panda walks into a bar. He eats, shoots, and leaves. Comma, comma, or no commas. Ask yourself, because it can change. Now, if you don't go back and take a look at the actual punctuation and pay attention to it, and let me tell you, it's really hard to pay attention to your own punctuation because in your head, you see you've already got your story. You know how it's supposed to go. You think it's all there. And so you don't really check it real close. And that's why you need another person's eyes on the piece. That's what it is. At the time of this writing, when I had written this 5-part series, I had recently finished the editing of a novel by a professional writer with over 30 years of serving large corporate clients. And he is very good at what he does in business for the business thing. Now, the first version of his novel that I received was number 23. This is how long he'd been working on it. And he changed so many things. He'd let people read it. They go blah, blah, blah. He'd go, and he would redo it. So when he handed me this, he said, I'm assuring you that it has been through so many hands and it's edited out the wazoo and everything's awesome. And pretty much, you can just publish the thing. I said, well, I have to read it first to see if I want to publish it. Now, I did want to publish it, and I did. But I loved his literary writing style. Had a wonderful voice. But I was lost in the story because it spanned a long period of time. And this character, the main character, changed and moved. So I didn't know. And he also had, what's that where you look back in time? Flashbacks. Yeah, had flashbacks. So what year was it now? I don't know. Where in the story did this happen? How did this character get in the room? Wait a minute, didn't the main character already say this earlier? Why is he repeating it here? There must be a reason. Wait. Didn't the main character say just the opposite of that earlier? So how old was he and when was he that age? Oh dear, whose girlfriend's name is he calling? Which he went through 2 or 3 of those. Is he in the room with the former girlfriend and the current one? His punctuation was pretty good also until it wasn't. He had changed so much by the 23rd version that what he'd previously punctuated now needed to be totally refined. It was a lot of work. And he just couldn't believe that there was that much. But see, he was a professional writer and he was used to looking critically at stuff. But you see, when it's all in your head and you think it's all there on the paper, you miss it. So you need a second pair of eyes. And you need that set of eyes to be one that will understand the character, has some knowledge of the world, so in case this character moves around, they can say, yeah, I don't know. Are you sure that's what he was doing? Also, and I want you to remember this, punctuation is power. Absolutely. But punctuation exists in the service of words. Words do not exist to serve punctuation. Okay? Every story has its own pacing. Your punctuation and how you choose to use it in your book should serve your pacing. And it should help define how each character speaks, thinks, and moves. And until you get stuff written down on the page and until you start digging into it like that, your characters are just going to lay on the page. They're not going to come alive. And sometimes you can't make them come alive. I mean, I done told you I threw away a 35,000 page, boy, 35,000 word, or was it 50,000 word book that I had worked on and worked on. Let sit for a while and come back. And it was even worse than it was when I left it. Sometimes you just can't make anything happen on the page. Maybe it's because it doesn't need to be told. Maybe there is no value to the reader. I don't know. Every book's different. You see? Yours is different from mine. But one thing about it, novelists need an editor who is not rigid with rules and understands and can even help shape your style. A good editor doing the job properly can even help you find your style. So let them do that. It sounds weird, I know. But part 4 will discuss how to train a reader in your punctuation style. This is going to be very interesting. So, as you can see at the bottom, you have my email address, my publisher's email address, um, the publishing website, my author website, and my other website, because I'm involved in a lot of things, and they're all words, all based on words. Because remember, my blood is made of words, and I live to serve them properly, and I certainly hope you do too. If I can ever talk somebody out of writing because they just feel like they need to do it, but they really don't have the what's the gumption, the will, the desire, the need to write, then find something else that'll serve your soul better. It'll be good. It'll all be good. Um, I'm sure there's things you can do that I can't. There's things I can do that you probably can't. I don't know. But punctuation is power. Don't let it abuse its power. You be the boss. Well, I'm going to end this here. This is part 3, and we will be moving on to part 4. And we'll talk to you guys later, and y'all have fun. Bye.